Hi, what is the best gun for every class? It's an obvious question posed to me by many new players. It identifies one of the largest parts which shapes a game into what it is as a whole. It keeps me up at night and constantly consumes my every waking thought. And honestly, nobody can say what gun works best for who is entirely up to the individual and their tastes. Which is why today I bring you the factually supported and empirically demonstratable best weapons for every new player in Insurgency Sandstorm by the best player himself. MGE Gibbs, eat your heart out. Kicking off the return of the series for a very eventful free weekend. Welcome new players, I'm Six Snipes and this is 5 Minutes in Sandstorm. Let's get started. To preface, every class gets one pick for each side, security, and insurgents, totaling to 2 per class. Picks are not based off what I believe is the best gun in every class, but rather the most user and beginner friendly. For instance, the Tavor 7 and Ace 23 are essentially the best conventionalist rifles to date with the high damage and incredible range with precision, however struggle with poor default capacity and high recoil, and are not what I would recommend to an advisor player new to the game and with poor aim training. The primary factors which decide what is best are recoil, default capacity, and cost, as well as what features you get for what you pay, prioritized in that order. First and foremost, Rifleman. And these other ones. Riflemen being the default unlocked class and later on their respective variant classes are all best off using the AKM and G36K for any beginner. They're both the cheapest you'll pay for full auto action on the part of basic infantry, for both factions coming in at 3 credits each. The AKM having the best damage model for accessible and more conventional picks before moving up to something heavier like the FAL with an industry standard 600 rounds per minute, delivering bullets fast enough to do damage but not too fast to dump ammunition all in one go. Meanwhile, the recoil profile is low enough to be relatively manageable but high enough to get you started on being used to beefier kick typical of miniguns in this game. The main point of interest will be the fact that with a chugging fire rate and notably rapid reload, you will be able to put down guy after guy with little to no obstacle. The G36 in comparison is possibly even more economically viable given its ability to equip a couple unique optics that are both fantastic and cheaper than most options that come with zoom, and possessing inconsequentially less shot performance than the more well-rounded M4A1 at 2 credits cheaper. I will take it and spend them on more worthy additions like a grenade or a secondary or attachments to compensate any day. It's fast, efficient, with the rare feature of a 2-round burst, plus I slapped a kid from 60 meters while recording this using nothing but the only optic you should be running with this gun, so that's a huge plus. Breachers. As the person whose job it is to break into an otherwise well-defended perimeter, the gadgets of breachers, namely the fabled flashbangs and IEDs, are must-have items which cost much-needed credits, meaning any decent siege expert is going to be utilizing a weapon less egregiously pricey so they can afford the necessary tools for the job, but still perform well in those close engagements. For this reason, both variants of the MP5, the MP5A5 for Sec Forces and MP5A2 for Insurgents, and if you really want to be picky, the MP5SD are for you. These 2 or 3 provide what is essentially the best pistol caliber delivered at a staggeringly high 800 rounds per minute, contradicted by the fact that with such a high fire rate, the recoil is so low and precision so high, you wouldn't even guess that that's how fast you're actually shooting, and engages enemies anywhere between point blank and all the way to the point where an ACOG is usable, making this the essential SMG for players new and old, demanding very little attachments wise, if not a little heavy on ammo consumption. Read, if there is a gun across all classes for new players, this is literally the best there is. Advisors. As the jack of all trades class, you can be anything between a sniper and a breacher, so for simplicity's sake, we'll cut right down the middle and make the best weapons for the Call of Duty Classic Gun Club, the Mark 18 CQBR, and the Alpha AK. The bottom line is these weapons are just better versions of the already popular M4A1 and AKM weapons platforms, and while people drill on their keyboards about marginally better damage stats in the case of the originals, certain advantages here do exist. Unlike the AKM and basically every other gun on the list, the Alpha AK only took 1 game for me to have sufficient footage demonstrating why it works. 25 rounds per minute faster than the AKM with better recoil basically makes us into what amounts to the higher priced AK-74, but with all of the advantages of the bigger round and none of the drawbacks. The fire rate is faster than they can handle, the range is longer than you think, make no mistake, this is the AK in its prime. Meanwhile, the Mark 18 CQBR is basically a very slightly weaker M4 for 1 credit cheaper. You'll do 1 shot less to anyone wearing body armor at something like 40 meters, but that's in such a minority that 1, I don't give a shit, and 2, it's a bargain considering that in trade this weapon has no recoil and the sexiest skin in the game to date. Marksman. The best beginner weapon for both Marksman classes will be the bolt-action rifle types M24 and Mosin Nagant. They are cheap, light, with plenty of attachments to accommodate for the drawbacks of the manual bolt features such as the greased bolt as well as the Mosin's optional stripper clip. Landing follow-up shots is certainly difficult compared to the dreaded semi-auto classes like the EBR and SVD, however the one-hit kill feature is far more consistent and lethal at ranges. Moreover, with guns like the Dragunov, you will be perceived as less of a sniper and more of a massive dick. Gunner. Finally, and most importantly, comes the class that NWI doesn't care about. We'll make this one quick. The M249 SAW provides an uncontestable 200 rounds capacity and enough precision to make every shot count. Meanwhile, the PKM may not one-shot as consistently as the MG3 or M240B, but is far less clunky in function, cheaper in acquisition, with rugged and very lethal action that, while overshadowed by the former, still cuts out a very respectable place in the market for a devastating anti-everything implement. Oh shit, there's still pistols. Use the free guns for terrorists and the Glock cause it's thug as fuck.
Relax and take notes while I take toast of the marijuana smoke. Throw you in the choke,